What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video I want us to discuss HEX and its liquidity across DEXes, mainly Uniswap. So if you like this kind of quantitative technical hybrid analysis on the HEX charts, leave a thumbs up, be subscribed by the end of the video if you aren't by now. Let's get to 2,800 subscribers. We're almost there. Thank you guys for blasting right through 2,700. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, first of all, where we are now on the HEX price, and then we'll get into the liquidity side of things. So just to start us off, you can see that we're consolidating nicely around the 9.3 cent level. Another long wick to the downside, just like we saw yesterday. Generally a good sign to indicate buy pressure, hovering above our 20-day MA, 21-day EMA ribbon, which approximately these guys are sitting at 7.44 cents and 7.72 cents, which are actually higher than our previous low, our previous wick. So if we were to have downside, right, because there's always a downside risk in crypto, in any market really, I would argue that that would be a great level of support that might not last for long if it even reached it, right? Similar to over here, when you dip to these regions of support, you see these long wicks that give you these dips that last anywhere from a few minutes to maybe just a few hours at the most sometimes. So we'll see. We are close to all-time highs, so that's generally a really good sign, because once we break through that, if we do, then it's just price discovery mode from there. And if we take a look at the liquidity, actually, to segue into this, the liquidity on Uniswap V3, we have a nice little spike here at 11 cents, but overall, after 10 cents, we see a nice decline in the thickness of the order book, so to speak. And overall, we just have this this kind of spike, maybe someone trying to offload some bags at 11 cents, because you have a, like a 5 or 6x spike. What is that? 12.35 million hex at 11 cents. Someone's trying to sell a nice a nice $1.36 million, right? The sell order right there hanging out around 11 cents. So we'll see what happens from there. If we pull up this chart, which I generally like this sheet a lot, we don't share it much on this channel, but hey, here you go. This is our liquidity analysis, right? So it took a minute to update this before starting this video, but essentially what you have here, just so it's not too confusing, is you have your Uniswap V2 liquidity, your Uniswap V3 liquidity, and then I call this your support resistance, which are effectively your bid and your ask. And this really came into play as being asymmetrical once V3 entered the game. So once Uniswap V3 launched on May 5th of this year, providing the option for LPs to provide asymmetric liquidity, or just one-sided liquidity, right, not symmetrical, then that's when we got this sort of decoupling of the bid and the ask, where they used to be exactly the same when V2 was the only version of Uniswap around, but with V3 coming in now, they're not the same. So we have increased liquidity over time. I was just noticing as I was updating this chart earlier that we have a decent amount of HEX locked up in V3 already, and that's why I made these charts here, where Uniswap V2 still holds the majority of the liquidity for HEX at 66.1%. However, V3 is now quickly approaching, sitting at 34% of total liquidity. And if you want the actual figures, then I wrote them down over here. We calculated them with almost $16 million of liquidity on V2, with $8 million of liquidity on V3. Here you have your percentages. And then of that, of all liquidity across both V2 and V3, you have your USDC and your ETH liquidity. So most of HEX's pair with which it's associated when providing liquidity is actually USDC. And you see that here it's sitting at 81.3%, with the ETH liquidity sitting at approximately 18.7%. So majority is USDC, majority is on V2. However, you do have a little bit of ETH liquidity, some of which is on V2, some is on V3. But overall, it's a decent amount, right? Because if you want to cash out millions, well, guess what? You can. So if your argument is, well, it's an illiquid market, Well, my argument is we've seen on chain, you can verify this, people cashing out millions of dollars over the course of just a few days. And keep in mind, if you're a smart whale, that is what you're going to do. You're not just going to fat finger sell in one go, because you'd probably become a wick to the downside on the chart, effectively selling the bottom, and you'd get slippage. You'd get crazy slippage along the way if your order is of a significant enough size. So when you have whales acting in the market, if they're smart, generally, if they're trying to buy it, they'll buy in chunks. Let some people sell into their buys, so they get better order execution. They buy up the dips, so to speak, and paint the chart, paint a nice uptrend. Or they'll do the opposite and sell a little bit, let there be a little bull trap, let people buy, sell more, and so on. So if you're a smart whale, you'll parse your buys over the course of days, weeks, months, depending on the size of the position you're trying to enter. But yeah, with that said, there's plenty of liquidity for people to scale in and out of this market, as we've seen, again, verifiable on chain. We like to have fun with this calculator here, where we have our remaining ROI until $1 HEX, and it's only 10.74, right? Only a 10.74x remaining until $1, and the input required for $1 HEX is just $24 million. We've seen wallets who seem to like HEX a lot holding way more than this, 10 times more, just in a single wallet, for example. So if there are multiple of these guys, and there's actually hundreds of millions to potentially billions of dollars on the sidelines waiting, then this isn't a tall order, in my opinion, at least within the next year or so, in my opinion. Again, none of this is financial advice, your generic disclaimer for this video. But if we look at a more bullish target, fun target here of $100, and we see that would be 1,074x to go, which we've done 1,700x. So to think this can't happen, well, history would suggest otherwise. Definitely a taller order. $1/3 billion required of economic energy to reach $100 HEX. Keep in mind, both of these input requireds generally assume zero sell pressure, which isn't the real world, right? These calculations are done in a vacuum, but price action doesn't behave in a vacuum. So you will have sell pressure. And at the end of the day, this input required, more strictly defined, is actually net buy pressure, right? So when your net buy pressure, which is your buy pressure minus your sell pressure, once that equals this, then that's when you get these kind of numbers, this kind of performance. So one way to achieve this would be, just an example would be, $34 million of buy pressure and $10 million of sell pressure. Once you add those, or subtract it, I guess, the sell from the buys, you have $24 million of net buy pressure. Hope that makes sense. That's what's actually required to move these markets in these amounts. So like I showed you earlier, the majority of our liquidity being in USDC allows HEX to move based simply on itself, right? To have less reflexivity on the rest of crypto. All right, guys, so camera just died. However, we're going to continue this video. The reason the camera died is because I attempted to film this already like 3 or 4 times. Some issues were coming up with this chart, which I actually fixed. So you've been seeing the correct data here. But just to finish off the video, that was mainly what I wanted to touch on with the liquidity side of things. But I also wanted to look at our HEX BTC and our HEX ETH pairs just to finish things off. And we see that we've had this wild uptrend of approximately over a 10x versus Bitcoin simply in the last couple of months or so. Like we've been talking about, where we saw our move up, some nice consolidation into our moving average channel, some support back on the moving average channel, which is also horizontal support from these prior highs. I move up once again, wicks onto the channel, nice consolidation. We saw a move up, and now maybe we consolidate for longer while we let these moving averages catch up potentially. So we'll see what happens. The trend is your friend, and this is a clear uptrend with a high, a low, higher highs and higher lows being printed over the last 2 months. So I think it'd be unwise to step in front of a moving train like this. You can also see this uptrend on the HEX ETH pair, which is it even more bullish? Slightly less, right? We haven't quite 10x'd, if we take a look at our overperformance, then we see that we had a nice 8.2x so far in just 52 days on the HEX ETH pair, whereas on the HEX Bitcoin pair, it's slightly more bullish, clocking in at, clocking in at 11.68x in those same 53 days. So we've been overperforming crypto, we've been overperforming HEX, or excuse me, we've been overperforming Ether and Bitcoin very nicely. If we zoom out, we can see that we recently crossed all-time highs on the ETH pairing, which was previously 36,000 Gwei, and we reached a high of approximately 43,800 Gwei. If we take a look at the HEX BTC pair, our local high was 292 Satoshis, almost the 300 Satoshi mark. This is clear expansion. We've seen this before. If we take a journey through time, we see that we've had, a bubble market structure, and then the next bubble absolutely just eclipses prior market structure. We saw that, for example, I was trying to show you actually over here. It's hard to show with this dumb wick, but hey, I think you know what I'm talking about. For example, on the HEX, this is a way better example. So you have your market structure, and then your subsequent bubble just leaves your previous market structure looking like peanuts. And so could we be seeing something similar playing out, where current market structure just becomes peanuts in the bigger picture with these new paradigm shifts into higher regions potentially? I mean, we're already seeing it play out on the Bitcoin pairing, which seems to be a leading pair as opposed to the Ether pairing. For example, we saw this breakout. First, we saw the HEX USD pair breakout, then we saw the HEX BTC pair breakout, and HEX ETH generally takes the longest. So we'll keep you updated. I wanted to give a shout out to whoever sent a donation yesterday of 0.01 Ether. Thank you very much for that. If we take a look at who actually sent it, it looks like they have a favorite coin, which, surprise, good old HEX. So thank you to whoever sent that. The addresses will always be in the description below. You can cross-reference that with the one on LookIntoHex.com, which also, if you're new or if you haven't kept up for the recent past week or so, we've updated LookIntoHex.com with a few updates on the heat maps. These completely two new buttons you can choose, which are your fair value and your quarterly ROI charts. So with that said, I appreciate you watching. Let's subscribe and get us to 3,000 subs by the end of the month. We're almost there. If you like this kind of hybrid analysis on the HEX charts with the statistical, the quantitative, the qualitative, fundamental, technical, all of that, leave a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.